डॉक्टर बाबा साहेब आंबेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी।
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम आशुतोष बहुगुणा है। मैं सर्टीन में एज ए साइंटिस्ट डी कार्यरत हूँ। आज हम साइबर सिक्योरिटी इनिशिएटिव्स इन इंडिया विषय पर चर्चा करेंगे। सो टुडे वी हैव अ लर्निंग ऑब्जेक्टिव्स इन दिस सेशन अबाउट द साइबर सिक्योरिटी इनिशिएटिव्स इन इंडिया। We will discuss the role of Indian Computer Emergency Response Team. We will see the information security education and awareness program initiated by the Government of India. You may be aware about the Digital India program. So Digital India program is launched by the Government of India with a vision which is centered on three key areas, that are digital infrastructure as a utility to every citizen. Every citizen should have access to the digital infrastructure. Another is the government and services on demand over the ICT network to be provided. And third is the empowerment of the citizens of India. So digital empowerment of the citizens of India. So these are the three key areas on which the vision of Digital India is centered. So the key concern about is the cyber security. So cyber security, the ICT infrastructure and the services and the digital growth, what we have to do is the manage the cyber security concerns which arise from the cyber security threats and cyber security malicious actors. First, like we will see in a cyber security concerns, that expanding role and implementation of technology across sector in the country. So today we are relying more and more on the ICT infrastructure, and so our attack surface also increased. Second is the volume and complexity of information technology ecosystem in the country. Third is the growth in volume of transactions and sensitive data exchange. So rapidly changing security and threat landscape. As we know, on the daily basis there are new threats, new malware, new viruses are emerging, and those are the threats to the cyber infrastructure. So there is a shift in attack vectors and the nature of their launch. So today attackers are able to remotely conduct the attack on the ICT critical infrastructure and ICT infrastructure and services. So to reduce the cyber security risk exposure of IT infrastructure and ecosystem in the country, that's the objective and that's the concerns for the governments, organizations and sector across the world. So in India, if you see the top level national document is the National Cyber Security Policy, which is a guiding document which provide a guiding document how we should secure our country's cyber ecosystem. This cyber security policy facilitates creation of secure computing environment. This provide the guide to stakeholders actions what they need to do. It provides a roadmap and articulates our strategy how we have to protect our cyber security ecosystem of the country. In the policy, the implementation of policy is by the means of actions by the government, actions in the collaboration of PPP model, action by the private sector and the academia. So National Cyber Security Policy is the top level document of a country and is available at the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology website, that's www.meti.gov.in. Another document created by CERTIN is the Cyber Crisis Management Plan, and this Cyber Crisis Management Plan is created with the objective to protect the cyber infrastructure, ICT infrastructure within our organizations, and how we have to react to if there is any cyber attack. What are the policies and procedures and way to react to the cyber attack. So this cyber crisis management plan needs to be implemented by all the organization and sectors to protect their information infrastructure. Cybersecurity, the role of CERTIN. The CERTIN stands for Indian Computer Emergency Response Team. And usually all the countries having a national level CERTs, their role is to respond to the primary role is to respond to the cybersecurity incidents in their constituency. So for the national CERT, constituency is the whole country. For the sectoral CERT, like a finance CERT, if you talk about power CERT, we talk about, they look for their constituency is that specific sector, and they respond to the cyber attacks, cyber attack targeting that particular sector. So for the country India, we have a national CERT, that's the CERT-IN. So Indian Computer Emergency Response Team is enabled under Section 70B of Information Technology Act, and it's a national nodal agency to serve as a national agency to perform the following function in the area of cyber security. So prime responsibility is to respond to the cyber security incidents, then collection of the data related to the cyber threats, then the roles and responsibilities of the CERTIN are defined in the Act under Section 70B. So cybersecurity incidents as seen in the country are like web defacement, changing the home page of any website by the malicious actors, attackers, malware propagations, then web application based attack, and as you can see in the list, the different and various type of attacks are there. Insider attacks are there are phishing attempts are there. So those attacks are type of incidents are seen in the country. So in CERTIN, the work process, there are several vendors, agencies, international forum reporting, providing information to the CERTIN, and then CERTIN is analyzing those reports, those incidents, and then helping the organizations victim to resolve and respond to the cyber security incident or a crisis. So at CERTIN, we are promoting the best practices such as the how to securing the web server guidelines, antivirus best practices, handling the malware cases is there, platform specific guidelines such as the Linux based, Windows security based, perimeter security guidelines such as on a firewall, intrusion prevention system, intrusion detection system, securing the home computers for the users, parents, businesses, children's, how to be secure online, and security assurance framework that when we are doing something, we have to get a confidence that we are doing it right. That's the security assurance framework. CERTIN is conducting cybersecurity exercises and participating in cybersecurity exercises on a regular basis. There are mock drills, cybersecurity drills conducted regularly at the national level. There are tabletop exercises conducted for various organizations and critical sector entities. National exercises, multilateral, international, bilateral exercises with international partners, and sector specific exercises like the for a finance sector, for the power sector, those exercises are conducted. The CERTIN initiative is the cybersecurity mock drills, national, bilateral, and multilateral with international partner, national partner on a regular basis. Skilled and qualified IT security auditors are impaneled by CERTIN by taking a skill verification test, and CERTIN is also publishing the computer security guidelines for compliance across government organizations and other sectors. CERTIN also set up information exchange with sectoral CERT, CISOs, Chief Information Security Officers of critical infrastructure organization, ISPs, vendors, and there is an initiative of botnet tracking, malware analysis, and the cleaning and takedown of the command and control server and the system set up by the attackers. So certain on regular basis tracking the websites for any defacement, any malicious activity, any intrusions, and certain also doing the network behavior analysis for distributed denial of service attacks, virus, worm infections. There is a regular vulnerability tracking and the analysis of those vulnerabilities. So regular training and awareness programs are provided for the different organizations, and those details are available on the certain websites. So certain website is www.cert-in.org.in. So those details are available there. Efforts are being made to promote security tips for the end users, how to protect and secure their desktops, laptops, mobile phones, USBs, and other devices. There is an initiative launched for the malware cleaning, botnet cleaning, and malware analysis center that's known as a Cyber Swachhata Kendra. The more details are available at the website. There is an agency which is National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center NCIIPC, and is set up with a vision to facilitate safe, secure, and resilient information infrastructure for critical sectors of the nations. So, mission is to protect the national critical information infrastructure of the country by this agency. There is a information security education and awareness program initiated by Ministry of Electronics and IT with the objective for building the capacity in the area of information security. So regular training programs are conducted there. More details are available in the slide given there, and so they are creating the more information security professionals so that we can protect the ecosystem, cyber ecosystem of the country. Chief Information Security Officer Guidelines (CISO) guidelines are released by Ministry of Electronics and IT, and it defines the roles and responsibilities of the Chief Information Security Officers of the organizations, and especially critical sector organization. So it's having those details of the CISO guidelines, what is expected from the CISOs is available at the ministry website. That's the meity.gov.in. There are cybersecurity research and development initiated of Government of India and the ministries, and they invite the various projects from the academia and the researcher to contribute to the cyber security by developing the tools, by developing the methodologies and frameworks for securing the cyber security ecosystem, for securing the information infrastructure of the country. So cyber security research and development details are available at the meity.gov.in, that's I already discussed. Cybersecurity frameworks for banks are released recently by the Reserve Bank of India in June 2016, and that framework is for the banks to how they protect their ICT infrastructures and services which are relying on the cyber infrastructure. So this is the empanelment process by the CERT-In, and it's having, as you can see, is having a 5-step process. And the first step starts with the document verification, document evaluation of the auditing organizations. Then there is a offline test of those auditors, skill assessment test of those auditors. Then there is a black box online test of auditors. They have to qualify all the steps, and then they have to come for a PIS, personal interaction session, to add the CERT-In to defend their reports. Then there is a background verification, their credential verification, and finally then if they qualify all these steps, then they are impaneled by CERT-In. So organizations, entity can make use of those vendors, those service provider for getting their infrastructure audited from the security point of view. For the incident reporting and information exchange, you can write at the incident at the rate crt-org.in. There is a toll-free number, there is a toll-free fax, there is a incident reporting form available at a website. If some cybersecurity incident happens, so organization report those details at the incident at the rate cert-org.in. So government is enabling the CSERT, CERS and information sharing and analysis centers, that's the ISACs. So CSERT stand for the Computer Security Incident Response Teams, then Computer Emergency Response Teams and ISACs. So these are the name of the agencies who take care of the cybersecurity incident, who respond to the cybersecurity incidents and improve the cybersecurity of particular sector or a country. So the level of operations, if you see, there are a national level certs, there are a sectoral certs, there are organization level certs also, and there are states government certs also. So that's the one of the objective of the government, that to enable the entities, sectors, states and organization to create their own certs. So this was about the initiative of the cyber security initiatives in India. So in summary, we have discussed in this session about the various government initiatives taken in the cyber security. We have discussed about the CSIRT, CERTs bodies and their activities. We have discussed about the information security education and awareness project. We have discussed about the various activities of the CERTing, like the empanelment, incident handling, cyber crisis management plan. So that's for all for this session. Thank you very much.
स्वाध्यायः परमं तपः। स्वाध्यायः परमं
डॉक्टर बाबा साहेब आंबेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी।
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम आशुतोष बहुगुणा है और मैं एज ए साइंटिस्ट डी इंडियन कंप्यूटर इमरजेंसी रिस्पांस टीम 13 में कार्यरत हूँ। इस सेशन में हम डिस्कस करेंगे मैनेजिंग साइबर सिक्योरिटी, हाउ टू मैनेज द साइबर सिक्योरिटी इश्यूज एंड द साइबर थ्रेट्स. So the objective of this session is to learn about the managing cyber security, the art of managing the cyber security, cyber security frameworks, different frameworks already there which we may use or organization may use to protect self from the cyber threats. Then we will discuss maturity models, the cyber security maturity models. That's the roadmap of an organization to move a ladder of a maturity. We will discuss CIS, critical security controls, 20 critical security controls. If at some point of a time we cannot do everything available in a framework, so what we can do, we can implement, at least do the 20 critical controls. So we can say that we are reasonably safe. Then we will see the cyber security must have at least condition, minimum baseline. So that's the cyber security must haves. So managing the cyber security. So in the managing the cyber security, is the first thing is the understanding it better. So understanding it clear. That means first thing we have to understand what the cyber security means, what our problem is that we are going to manage. So there are various terms such as information security, cyber security, IT security, or maybe others. So what is the relationship between them? Is the information security is a subset of cyber security is a subset of information security, or both are same, and what this IT security is, and then what the critical information infrastructure is, and what the national critical information infrastructure is. So first thing is that we have to be very clear what we are going to manage, what we are going to achieve. So here I will refer to a source, CIPedia. So visit this website, CIPedia. This may help you to clear what you understand by cyber security, information security. There are various definitions by different countries, different organizations, and different entities. So that the definition, first thing I suggest you to make your definition of a cyber security and the information security. In a literature, if you will search for, you will identify, some says that the cyber security is subset of information security, and some few says that they are neither superset, subset, they are intersecting each other. They are a set A and set B and intersecting each other. So the first thing is to the making the understanding of the cyber security, definition of the cyber security. So first thing, after doing that, but the other challenge is that managing with limited resources. We are not having unlimited resources. Our funds, our manpower are the challenges for doing the cyber security, managing the cyber security. So effectiveness of security controls. So sometimes I have seen that in many organizations, in many audits, we have set up some security controls. We have implemented some device, but whether that device, that security control is effective in producing the cyber security for the asset, whether that device or a control is sufficient to protect us against the cyber security threats, so that we have to analyze, get an assurance about the effectiveness of that control. So those are the managing the cyber security. So what is the information? So information and the information security. So by definition, if we will go, the information can be in any form: digital form, in a paper, the password remembered by your employee. So if we go by the information security definition, we talk about CIA: confidentiality, integrity, availability. So it should be, information should be available. A. It should be, integrity should be there. That means the information should be same as produced, and confidentiality means it should be only available to the people who are authorized to have it. So if your job is to manage information security, you can go for an information security management system. That's the ISMS. It brings the information security under control of a management. So if you are implementing information security management system, the best to go for a ISO IEC 27000 series of a standards. So 27001 is to certify the information security management system. So ultimately, what the organization has to achieve is not to protect only from the digital and the cyber threats, but also from the other threats, such as the insider threats, such as a physical penetration attempt. So all those threats, all those ways should be used to protect the information, and that's the information security. So implementing information security, when you will go through the ISO 27001, the standards 27002 speaks about the code of practices to implement the ISMS. So it says that scope, context of the organization, leadership, and then it talks about the risk management, it talks about the support, it talks about the operations control implementation, it talks about performance evaluation of your ISMS, it talks about the continuous improvement. So these things, these parameters are used for, mandatory parameters are used for implementing the ISMS. So there are controls in the ISO 27001 which organization, as per the statement of applicability, can select for the implementation. So what can the controls be? Control can be the having the encryption, can having a teleworking controls. So if you are working from remotely to the office, what type of controls should be there? So organization can select and implement those control as per the applicability of the to the organization, like a human resource security, human resource they have to do, physical security they have to do. So those controls is there. The NIST cyber security framework, if you are looking for implementing the controls and a framework for the cyber security, then you can make use of a NIST cyber security framework. So this framework you can customize as per your need. You can select the implementation tier, and then you can make your profile and implement for our organization to protect the ICT and your cyber domain from the cyber threats. So there are a framework core, framework implementation tiers, and framework profiles. So this the organization implementation tiers and profile can select, and the core. So what is the core component of that framework is to identify, then the protect, then there is a detect, then there is a respond, then there is a recover. So what it is the identify the assets, identify all the assets. Then second is the protect them from the cyber threats and cyber attacks. If there is a cyber attack, then third is the detect it. If there's some attack is going on, then there is a respond. If attack is successful or someone is trying to attack, if there is some incident, then respond to that incident. Then recover from the cyber security breach or an incident. So this is the framework core. This framework core is having these 5 categories, and then there is a list of activities what organization need to do, categories and subcategories which organization need to can implement and select based on their resources, their applicability to their organization, and can move to a better cyber security. So in identify, if you will look at the details within an identify category, then we can say asset management, business environment. So manage all the assets which is within your purview. Then business environment of your organization, governance structure, risk assessment, what type of a risk are there for your organizations, risk management strategy, whether risk is accepted, whether risk is rejected, whether risk is mitigated. So those, then there is a supply chain risk management. If your vendors or in a supply chain can cause a attack to your organization. So these things are under identify. In protect, what you have to do is to use the protective technology like IPS or parameter security devices, antivirus solutions to protect from the cyber threats. Similarly, data security is there, administration of devices is there, maintenance of devices is there, awareness and training, because people are also important part of cyber security ecosystem. So their awareness and training is also very important. Then detect, if someone is trying to attack or already compromise the system, then detect that attack or attempt of attack. So continuous monitoring, reviewing the log and detection devices, detection process should be in a place to successfully detect the attack or attempt of attack. If the attack is successful, then respond to it. Respond to it by analyzing its cause, reporting to the authorities, identifying mitigation actions and the improvement and the countermeasures and communication within the organization and outside organization if that incident is there. Then recover means to come to the original as it was earlier before the attack. Then that planning should be there, what actions need to be taken to run the system again with the 100% features. So those things comes under the recover. There are subcategories under those categories, and that you can see, you can download that NIST cybersecurity framework document from NIST website and can go through the implementation tiers and the subcategories and other references. Okay, so the next topic is about the building the cyber resiliency. So building the cyber resiliency is supported by the cyber crisis management plan. So cyber crisis management plan are different from the incident response plan. Incident response plans are when you are responding to the incident. That plan help you to respond to the incident. But cyber crisis management plan not only talks about the response but also about the proactive actions also. So that's the building the cyber resiliency. So goal of any cyber resiliency, building cyber resiliency within organizations is anticipation. So risk analysis, anticipation of the threats, attacks to the organization, protection and detection. And then withstand if there is an attack is successful. Then recover from that attack if attack is successful and evolve to the improved posture. So these are the cyber resiliency goals which a organization can implement. So cyber security capability maturity models are there. These maturity models help the organization to assess their current posture, current state, where they stand in terms of a cyber security and where they have to move to the next level. What the actions they have to perform, identify those actions to move to the next level. So these are there are 10 dimensions. If we look specifically to the C2M2, then it talks about those dimensions and for the capability maturity model which the organization can work on improving and assessing their current state and improving to further state. So sometimes it may be difficult for an organization to implement the complete framework or standard in one go. So what is the solution suggested is that implement the CIS critical security control. So at least do these 20 things and then the most critical worries will be gone. So at least you can do these CIS critical security controls, at least you can do these 20 things which are you can then move to the further to implementing the frameworks and standards. There are 20 controls, so you can also see and look into those controls like a vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. What it is? Vulnerability assessment means looking for the weakness in a system, doing the vulnerability assessment. Then penetration testing means doing the penetration attempt on the system. Red teaming exercises are there, which test for a people, process, technology, all three components. Data recovery capabilities. Suppose there is a WannaCry ransomware attacks on your systems. The data is encrypted. So there should be data recovery capability within your organization. Antivirus, anti-malware software, anti-malware solutions should be implemented here. But the most important, as if you see, the first and the second category is the inventory. That's the most tedious and challenging task to do in a cyber security. Most of the organizations are not aware what the software they have, what type of hardware they have, where it is placed. So it is saying that in a 1 or 2 that there should be an inventory of a hardware, authorized and unauthorized hardware. There should be an inventory of authorized and unauthorized software. There should be secure configuration of the devices, hardware and software. Those things are, so at least we can do these basic 20 controls. Sometimes it may be challenging or you are assessing a cyber posture of an organization. So we suggest that at least you do the cyber security must have 5 controls only. So we can say these are the cyber suraksha ke 5 seal. So at least start with 5 controls. So what the roadmap we suggest is that start with 5 controls if you are having a very, very limited budget with no resources at all. So start with 5 controls, then move to 20 controls, then move to the cyber security framework, then ultimately information security framework. Along with that, you measure your maturity using the capability maturity model. So 5 controls, when talk about the first thing is again the inventory. Know what is there in terms of hardware, software, what is authorized, what is not authorized. Secure configuration, that's important again. Continuous vulnerability assessment and remediation. Look for a weakness, vulnerability in your systems, in your network, in your applications, and patch them, remove those weaknesses. Controlled use of administrative privileges means the administrative right should only be limited to a limited people. So it should not be that all people can access the system as an administrator. It should not be like that. All the employee of an organization accessing systems as an administrator. And then anti-malware solution, because there is a virus, malware, and problems of spywares are there, ransomwares are there. So it's better to have an anti-malware solution. So we start with 5, move to 20, and then go to cybersecurity framework, and finally reach to the information security management systems. So that's the art. We discussed roadmap, we propose to the organization to implement. So in summary, we discuss cybersecurity frameworks of NIST, ISMS, Information Security Management System, ISO 27001. We discussed the maturity models, and then we discussed the roadmap, how the organization can move to a better cybersecurity or information security posture by at least starting with 20 critical cybersecurity controls or 5 cybersecurity must-haves. So that's all for this session. Thank you very much.
स्वाध्यायः परमं तपः स्वाध्यायः परमं
Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University.
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम आशुतोष बहुगुणा है और मैं एज ए साइंटिस्ट डी इंडियन कंप्यूटर इमरजेंसी रिस्पांस टीम 13 में कार्यरत हूँ। इस सेशन में हम डिस्कस करेंगे वाईफाई थ्रेट्स एंड सिक्योरिटी। सो वाईफाई जैसा कि हम सभी जानते हैं, सभी यूज करते हैं, तो उसमें किस तरह से अटैकर और हैकर उसमें वल्नरेबिलिटीज को एक्सप्लॉइट कर सकते हैं और कैसे हमें उसको सिक्योर करना है। सो लर्निंग ऑब्जेक्टिव्स आर द वाईफाई सिक्योरिटी challenges. What are the challenges other than the already existing challenges of the LAN networks? What type of threats are there to Wi-Fi networks, and what are the security best practices, what we can do to protect the users and the organization from Wi-Fi, those threats, Wi-Fi threats. So what is a Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi is the name of a popular wireless networking technology. As you know, we all using this, and this the wireless local area network, WLAN. So the Wi-Fi alliances define Wi-Fi as any wireless local area network products that are based on the IEEE 802.11 standards. So this is defined by the Wi-Fi Alliance definition of a Wi-Fi, and we use it on a daily practices. We use it for connecting our laptops, mobile devices, and the tablets. So in a Wi-Fi, what type of networking can be there? There can be a peer-to-peer networking. Peer-to-peer means the computer A is connecting to computer B, or a mobile A is connecting to the mobile B. So there is a no access point, centralized point is not there. So peer-to-peer connections are there, and the data exchange and data transfer happen over that peer-to-peer network. In infrastructure mode, the difference is that now devices are not connected directly to each other. They are connected to the access point. So network access point, Wi-Fi access point. So they are connecting to that router in an infrastructure mode. So what is a challenge that Wi-Fi and this wireless networks brings is that network not confined to wires. It's In a year, someone can even access those access point from the outside the premises of a organization or the house. So if I am using at a Wi-Fi network at my home, so that may be accessed by someone from the streets also. So if it is not properly protected, secure, and proper passwords are not there, so anyone can connect to that Wi-Fi network. So that's the issue. If we discuss about the what type of challenge is there, the open access point. Open access point means there are access points without username and without credentials, supplying credentials, without username and a password. So those are the open access points. You need not to provide any password to connect to that access point. You just connect to that access point. That's a problem. Anyone can connect to that point. Weak encryption. Weak encryption means the encryption between device and the access point. If it is a weak, what can happen? Someone can sniff the packets and the traffic, can capture that traffic and can decrypt and see what you are sending to the network. So maybe your password, maybe your sensitive information can the attacker can see. Insecure configurations. Sometimes we are not configuring the devices properly or our wireless Wi-Fi clients properly. That may result in a weakness that can be exploited. So that can be like we are not setting up a strong password in our access point. So that's the one of the challenges. So vendor default setting. Sometimes we are using default setting, default username password. We are not changing that. So vendor supply maybe the admin username password or the test username password. So and any attacker can guess those username and password and can crack and log in into the your device and then change can do the any damage and the setting. Viral SSIDs. So some SSIDs are the viral. That's not the true SSIDs of any access point. But what it is doing, it's sticking to the computers. So virus client attack. So there is a possibility of attack on mobile devices and the device connecting to the access point. We will discuss that in how that attack can happen in the coming slides. Denial of service attack. Denial of service attack means the attacker can make the Wi-Fi access point and so the Wi-Fi services unavailable to the legitimate client. So what they can do? They can use a different technique such as a jammer. So they can jam that network, they can jam that area or access point so that the legitimate users cannot connect to or access the network. Attacks on Wi-Fi networks. So open and a weak encryption. We'll see war driving and war choking and what it means. We'll see wireless crypto attacks. We will see the evil twins, setting up the evil twins attacks, rogue access points. We'll see free public Wi-Fi. That's not real. That's the viral SSID. We'll see non-SSL web application attacks using a FireSeep, and we will see the denial of service attacks on the access points. So war driving. War driving is the driving with a very slow speed, let's say 10 km per hour in some certain region, and your devices is looking for the access point, Wi-Fi access point. So your devices is identifying access point 1 is not using any password or an encryption. It's an open access point. Access point using weak encryption. So you are collecting slowly driving along and collecting all the Wi-Fi related data, Wi-Fi access point related data from that area. So that's the war driving. Similarly, war walking is there. War walking means when you are walking, carrying a laptop or a device and collecting the access point data details of that region or from the any building premises. So that's the war walking. Then if you identify any open access point, So what you can do? You can mark there, hey, here is a open access point. Hey, here is a weak encryption access point, WEP. Hey, here is a WPA2 access point. So that's a chalking, that's a marking. So people may mark at and trees, roadsides, and anywhere. That's known as a war chalking. There is an interesting this service Weagle.net, and if you visit this website, you will find out that what the people use it for. People use it for, say you find out the some open access point. So what you can do, you can go to the Weagle.net and mark that access point. Hey, here is a free internet, free open access point. So that's how there are maps, and the people are marking the access points and their status there. Okay, so that's the what people are doing if the access points are not properly protected. Wireless crypto attacks. So crypto attacks means no encryption. Okay, so your device is not using any encryption. That's dangerous. Anybody can read what you are sending to the access point, isn't it? So that's the no encryption. WEP. WEP is a protocol, encryption protocol used to come between device, client device like your mobile phone, tablet, and the access point. So this WEP is a dead. Dead means it's broken. So WEP means is equivalent to no encryption, because again the attacker can decrypt that algorithm, that encryption algorithm is broken, and the attacker can read the data communicated by the client device or the access point. There are a WPA and WPA2, latest one. There are a few vulnerabilities and few ways of targeting those also, but it's recommended that we have to use in our devices WPA2 latest algorithm of encryption for the protecting the wireless network, the Wi-Fi network. So what type of attacks are possible on a WPA, WPA2? There is a recently released this a crack attacks or a crack vulnerability. It's a key reinstallation attacks on WPA2 protocol. You can go into the details by searching about the crack vulnerability and weakness. Basically what was happening is the attacker is forcing the access point, again set up the key, and in that process the attacker was able to get that key. So now the patches and the updates are released by the vendors, and the device can be patched. So if your devices are not patched for this weakness vulnerability, so you can patch them. Dictionary based attacks means someone is guessing the password key and to try to decrypt that. There are some few cloud based services also. They claim that if you submit that packet capture there of a wireless network, Wi-Fi network, then it can crack the WPA2 WPA encryption and provide you with the communications between the access point and client machine. Another category we discuss is the evil twins, honeypot attacks. So honeypot attacks is something like that. So suppose your device is looking for a say XYZ access point and or XYZ hotel access point, and suppose the attacker set up a malicious access point and says, hey, my name is XYZ hotel.com, XYZ hotel access points. I am your access point, connect to me. So if your device is connected to that network, attacker network, that's the evil twin attacks or a honeypot attack. So what attacker is doing? Attacker is listening to what your device is requesting for. So suppose your device is requesting for a access point which you were connected to the earlier, say lab 123, that was your access point name. So lab 123. Now you are not at a lab, you are at your home or some other area where lab 123 is not there. So your device will search for lab 123 network. So attacker will set up and say, hey, I am a lab 123. So your device will connect it to the attacker set up access point, and now the attacker, whatever you will send and communicate, attacker can capture that, can see that. So that's the Evil Twins honeypot attack. Rogue access points. What's a rogue access points? Rogue access points means access points which is not authorized by the organization or a owner. So what the attacker can do, they can come into an organization, can connect access point there, and can make their entire network wireless Wi-Fi. So that's the rogue access point. So like you see how the rogue access point can come. So suppose there is an employee, he is not aware, but what he is doing, he is connecting to the company network. But his device, his network tablet, his laptop tablet or a mobile phone is acting as a hotspot also. So what he is making? He is making his company network available over the Wi-Fi. So that's the rogue access point. Another is the access point. Someone enter into your organization, place some ball or say some doll or in a pen drive, shape, something they inserted into your network, placed into your network, that is transmitting the information to the outside, that is making your network Wi-Fi. So those are the rogue access point. So that's the responsibility of an administrator and an employee also to identify those rogue access point and remove them from the network. So what this rogue access point can lead to, what attacker can do, data leakage, data can be taken out, free internet access is there, scanning for services, vulnerabilities and exploitations. So from those rogue access point, the attacker can further search within a network what type of vulnerabilities are there, what type of net services are there which can be further exploited. So session hijacking, FireSweep. So this FireSweep is to demonstrate a vulnerability. That's the HTTP session hijacking attacks, and this is an add-on of a Firefox. So suppose some web application is not using a properly protected SSL for the communication. So what this FireSweep add-on can do, it can hijack the session when the people are connecting to the access point, especially access point at the airports and the free networks, free Wi-Fi networks. This is a viral SSID, that's the free internet. So viral SSID declaring as a free internet, but there is nothing like a free internet. So the viral SSID from an infected wireless enabled computer to another. So what it is doing, it is spreading from one system to the another system. So what attacker can do? So if a victim machine is searching for viral SSID, attacker can set up own machine to advertise that SSID. So SSID, like honey pot attack we have seen Evil Twins, in a similar manner, if you are looking for viral SSID, attacker can set up that thing and then can listen to all the communication and can control your machine. There are DOS attacks, denial of service attacks on the networks. The DOS attack on the Wi-Fi network is what is the simplest way? So unplug the power from access point. So access point, no power, so no Wi-Fi network. Jamming the ear, jammer, use the jamming device and jam the airwaves, so no Wi-Fi network available. Rogue dissociation, rogue deauthentication. So attacker is sending deassociation and force deauthentication request to the access point, which is then disconnecting the client from the access point. So and they are doing it on a continuous basis. So that's the denial of service attack on the networking. So what are the security best practices for the Wi-Fi? So first thing is the change default username password in router access point. So your router access point should be Wi-Fi router or Wi-Fi access point should use a strong password, a credential to log into or connect to it. It should not be default or a vendor supplied or the test admin. Those are the weak and easy to crack. Change default SSID and disable broadcast of SSID. So SSID broadcast and SSID name of your Wi-Fi network. You can change that, then attacker cannot guess which version, which vendor, which version of softwares, firmware your router is using, which router you are using. So if suppose it is of a XYZ company, you are changing that SSID. So attacker cannot identify which version it is, making it difficult to compromise. Turn off the router when not in use. So suppose you are not using the Wi-Fi, so just turn it off. Use WPA2, use the strong and updated and patched version of WPA2, and then patch and upgrade your drivers, devices and firmwares whenever there is any update available from vendor. User awareness is important. Aware the user, that's the key. Awareness is the key. They should be aware about the security issues and best practices. Disable auto connect features in your devices. So auto connect features should not be there. Why? Because we discussed the evil twins honeypot attack, in which if auto connect is there, your device will automatically connect to that honeypot. So you should disable it, and whenever you want to connect, then only you should connect. There should be password policy. Password should be the, say your policy is the 8 character. It should have a combination of a alphabet and numbers. It should have a special character and things like that. So you can make that policy. Regular audit of a wireless environment is required if there is any vulnerability, any rogue access point. So that can be identified in the security audits of a wireless environment, Wi-Fi networks. MAC filtering can be used in some organization. The MAC filtering, the MAC address, the hardware address of the devices is used. So only the authorized devices can connect to that access point. So suppose access point will be connected from the only 10 devices jinka MAC address is specified in the access point. So only those devices can connect to that access. So monitor the ER. Finally, monitor the ER means look for any rogue access point in your environment, any client trying to connect, or any evil twin in your network. So monitor the ER for the malicious activity. This link available in this science.org reading room. It's a wonderful paper that you can go through. It's a secure approach to deploying the wireless network. So the author is there, Joseph M. Matthews. So you can go through paper. It's a nice paper. It gives you the overview of the approaches to securely deploying the wireless network. So the summary of this session is that we discussed the security challenges in a Wi-Fi environment. What type of challenges, issues are there? Then we have seen some attacks. How the attacker can compromise the Wi-Fi environment, Wi-Fi access point, Wi-Fi clients. How the attacker can exploit and then utilize it for further exploitation within an organization. Then we have discussed the countermeasures and best practices to secure our Wi-Fi network. So that's all for this session. Thank you very much.
स्वाध्यायः परमं तपः स्वाध्यायः परमं
Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University.
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम आशुतोष बहुगुणा है। मैं CERT-in में एज ए साइंटिस्ट डी कार्यरत हूँ। आज हम साइबर सिक्योरिटी इनिशिएटिव्स इन इंडिया विषय पर चर्चा करेंगे। सो टुडे वी हैव अ लर्निंग ऑब्जेक्टिव्स इन दिस सेशन अबाउट द साइबर सिक्योरिटी इनिशिएटिव्स इन इंडिया। We will discuss the role of Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, we will see the information security education and awareness program initiated by the government of India. You may be aware about the Digital India program. So Digital India program is launched by the government of India with a vision which is centered on three key areas, that a digital infrastructure as a utility to every citizen. Every citizen should have access to the digital infrastructure. Another is the government and services on demand over the ICT network to be provided. And third is the empowerment of the citizens of India. So digital empowerment of the citizens of India. So these are the three key areas on which the vision of Digital India is centered. So the key concern about is the cyber security. So cyber security, the ICT infrastructure and the services and the digital growth, what we have to do is manage the cyber security concerns which arise from the cyber security threats and cyber security malicious actors. First, like we will see in a cyber security concerns that expanding role and implementation of technology across sector in the country. So today we are relying more and more on the ICT infrastructure, and so our attack surface also increased. Second is the volume and complexity of information technology ecosystem in the country. Third is the growth in volume of transactions and sensitive data exchange. So rapidly changing security and threat landscape. As we know, on the daily basis there are new threats, new malware, new viruses are emerging, and those are the threats to the cyber infrastructure. So there is a shift in attack vectors and the nature of their launch. So today attackers are able to remotely conduct the attack on the ICT critical infrastructure and ICT infrastructure and services. So to reduce the cyber security risk exposure of IT infrastructure and ecosystem in the country, that's the objective and that's the concerns for the governments, organizations and sector across the world. So in India, if we see the top level national document is the National Cyber Security Policy, which is a guiding document which provide a guiding document how we should secure our country's cyber ecosystem. This cyber security policy facilitates creation of secure computing environment. This provides the guide to stakeholders actions, what they need to do. It provides a roadmap and articulates our strategy how we have to protect our cyber security ecosystem of the country. In the policy, the implementation of policy is by the means of actions by the government, actions in the collaboration of PPP model, action by the private sector and the academia. So National Cyber Security Policy is the top level document of a country and it's available at the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology website, that's www.meti.gov.in. Another document created by CERT-In is the Cyber Crisis Management Plan, and this Cyber Crisis Management Plan is created with the objective to protect the cyber infrastructure, ICT infrastructure within our organizations, and how we have to react to if there is any cyber attack. What are the policies and procedures and way to react to the cyber attack? So this cyber crisis management plan needs to be implemented by all the organizations and sectors to protect their information infrastructure. Cyber security, the role of CERT-In. The CERT-In stands for Indian Computer Emergency Response Team. Usually all the countries having a national level CERTs Their role is to respond to the primary role is to respond to the cybersecurity incidents in their constituency. So for the national CERT, constituency is the whole country. For the sectoral CERT, like a finance CERT, if we talk about power CERT, we talk about, they look for their constituency is that specific sector, and they respond to the cyber attacks, cyber attack targeting that particular sector. So for the country India, we have a national CERT, that's the CERT-IM. So Indian Computer Emergency Response Team is enabled under Section 70B of Information Technology Act, and it's a national nodal agency to serve as a national agency to perform the following function in the area of cyber security. So prime responsibility is to respond to the cyber security incidents, then collection of the data related to the cyber threats, then the roles and responsibilities of the CERT are defined in the Act under Section 70B. So cybersecurity incidents as seen in the country are like web defacement, changing the home page of any website by the malicious actors, attackers, malware propagations, then web application based attack, and as you can see in the list, the different and various type of attacks are there. Insider attacks are there. There are phishing attempts are there. So those attacks are type of incidents are seen in the country. So in certain the work process, there are several vendors, agencies, international forum reporting, providing information to the CERT, and then CERT is analyzing those reports, those incidents, and then helping the organizations victim to resolve and respond to the cyber security incident or a crisis. So at CERT, we are promoting the best practices such as the how to securing the web server guidelines, antivirus best practices, handling the malware cases is there, platform specific guidelines such as the Linux based, Windows security based, perimeter security guidelines such as on a firewall, intrusion prevention system, intrusion detection system, securing the home computers for the users, parents, businesses, children's, how to be secure online, and security assurance framework that when we are doing something, we have to get a confidence that we are doing it right. That's the security assurance framework. CERT is conducting cybersecurity exercises and participating in cybersecurity exercises on a regular basis. There are mock drills, cybersecurity drills conducted regularly at the national level. There are tabletop exercises conducted for various organizations and critical sector entities. National exercises, multilateral, international, bilateral exercises with international partners, and sector-specific exercises like the for the finance sector, for the power sector, those exercises are conducted. The CERT initiative is the cybersecurity mock drills, national, bilateral, and multilateral with international partner, national partner on a regular basis. Skilled and qualified IT security auditors are impaneled by CERT by taking a skill verification test, and CERT is also publishing the computer security guidelines for compliance across government organizations and other sectors. CERT also set up information exchange with sectoral CERT, CISOs, Chief Information Security Officers of critical infrastructure organization, ISPs, vendors, and there is an initiative of botnet tracking, malware analysis, and the cleaning and takedown of the command and control server and the system set up by the attackers. So certain on regular basis tracking the websites for any defacement, any malicious activity, any intrusions, and certain also doing the network behavior analysis for distributed denial of service attacks, virus, worm infections. There is a regular vulnerability tracking and the analysis of those vulnerabilities. So regular training and awareness programs are provided for the different organizations, and those details are available on the certain websites. So certain website is www.crt-in.org.in. So those details are available there. Efforts are being made to promote security tips for the end users, how to protect and secure their desktops, laptops, mobile phones, USBs, and other devices. There is an initiative launched for the malware cleaning, botnet cleaning, and malware analysis center that's known as a Cyber Swachhata Kendra. The more details are available at the website. There is an agency which is National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center NCIIPC, and is set up with a vision to facilitate safe, secure, and resilient information infrastructure for critical sectors of the nations. So, mission is to protect the national critical information infrastructure of the country by this agency. There is an information security education and awareness program initiated by Ministry of Electronics and IT with the objective for building the capacity in the area of information security. So regular training programs are conducted there. More details are available in the slide given there, and so they are creating the more information security professionals so that we can protect the ecosystem, cyber ecosystem of the country. Chief Information Security Officer Guidelines (CISO) guidelines are released by Ministry of Electronics and IT, and it defines the roles and responsibilities of the Chief Information Security Officers of the organizations, and especially critical sector organization. So it's having those details of the CISO guidelines. What is expected from the CISOs is available at the ministry website. That's the meity.gov.in. There are cybersecurity research and development initiated of Government of India and the ministries, and they invite the various projects from the academia and the researcher to contribute to the cyber security by developing the tools, by developing the methodologies and frameworks for securing the cyber security ecosystem, for securing the information infrastructure of the country. So cyber security research and development details are available at the meity.gov.in. That's I already discussed. Cyber security frameworks for banks are released recently by the Reserve Bank of India in June 2016, and that framework is for the banks to how they protect their ICT infrastructures and services which are relying on the cyber infrastructure. So this is the empanelment process by the CERT-In, and it's having, as you can see, is having a 5-step process. And the first step starts with the document verification, document evaluation of the auditing organizations. Then there is a offline test of those auditors, skill assessment test of those auditors. Then there is a black box online test of auditors. They have to qualify all the steps, and then they have to come for a PIS, personal interaction session, to add the CERT-In to defend their reports. Then there is a background verification, their credential verification, and finally, then if they qualify all these steps, then they are impaneled by CERT-In. So organizations, entity can make use of those vendors, those service provider for getting their infrastructure audited from the security point of view. For the incident reporting and information exchange, you can write at the incident at the rate crt-org.in. There is a toll-free number, there is a toll-free fax, there is a incident reporting form available at a website. If some cybersecurity incident happens, so organization report those details at the incident at the rate cert-org.in. So government is enabling the CSIRT, CERTs and information sharing and analysis centers, that's the ISACs. So CSIRT stand for the Computer Security Incident Response Teams, then Computer Emergency Response Teams and ISACs. So these are the name of the agencies who take care of the cybersecurity incident, who respond to the cybersecurity incidents and improve the cybersecurity of particular sector or a country. So the level of operations, if you see, there are a national level CERTs, there are a sectoral CERT, there are organization level CERTs also, and there are states government CERTs also. So that's the one of the objective of the government, that to enable the entities, sectors, states and organizations to create their own CERTs. So this was about the initiative of the cybersecurity initiatives in India. So in summary, we have discussed in this session about the various government initiatives taken in the cybersecurity. We have discussed about the CSIRT, CERTs bodies and their activities. We have discussed about the information security education and awareness project. We have discussed about the various activities of the CERT-In, like the empanelment, incident handling, cyber crisis management plan. So that's all for this session. Thank you very much.
स्वाध्यायः परमं तपः स्वाध्यायः परमं
Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University.
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम आशुतोष बहुगुणा है और मैं एज ए साइंटिस्ट डी इंडियन कंप्यूटर इमरजेंसी रिस्पांस टीम CERT-In में कार्यरत हूँ। इस सेशन में हम डिस्कस करेंगे मैनेजिंग साइबर सिक्योरिटी, हाउ टू मैनेज द साइबर सिक्योरिटी इश्यूज एंड द साइबर थ्रेट्स. So the objective of this session is to learn about the managing cyber security, the art of managing the cyber security frameworks, different frameworks.
स्वाध्यायः परमं तपः स्वाध्यायः परमं
Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University.
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम आशुतोष बहुगुणा है. मैं इंडियन कंप्यूटर इमरजेंसी रिस्पांस टीम में एज ए साइंटिस्ट डी कार्यरत हूँ. आज हम इस सेशन में साइबर सिक्योरिटी थ्रेट्स विषय पे चर्चा करेंगे. सो दीज आर द लर्निंग ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ दिस सेशन is the current threat landscape. We will discuss the relationship between events and cyber attacks. We will discuss about the client-side threats, targeted attacks, and then finally the attacks on a server side. So current threat landscape, if we see, there is a threats of malware, that's like a virus, ransomware, spyware. We see attacks on a web applications and web services, attack on a trust infrastructure like digital signatures, like DNS servers. There is a attacks on industrial control systems and SCADA systems. There is a social engineering attacks such as a phishing attacks and targeted attacks. There are a attack on finance sectors and financial instruments such as the banking services, online banking, internet transaction, mobile based application used for financial transactions. So we are seeing, observing there is an increasing trend in these types of attacks. So if we see what is a malware, it is the malicious program, malicious code, which is created with the objective to do something malicious. So it's designed for doing something not intended by the victim. So it's created by the malicious actors. So some of the categories of malwares are like virus, worm, spyware, ransomware, trojans, and the different other categories of key logging software, phishing based keyloggers, and other is the category of a ransomware. Ransomware is the program, and recently we know about the WannaCry ransomware. And the ransomware, what it does is the encrypt the victim systems and then ask for a ransom, usually in the bitcoins and any other cryptocurrencies, for providing the decryption key to the victim. So it in fact the victim computers, make it useless, and the victim cannot operate it without paying the ransom. There is a increasing trend in web-based attacks like SQL injection attacks. There is a cross-site scripting attacks. In the project OWASP, Open Web Application Security Projects, you can visit the website also. You can see the different top 10 list released in recent list is released in 2017 of the top 10 categories of the attacks and threats to the web applications. So web application attacks rely on the weakness in the application program, web application program, and it exploit the vulnerability of web applications, and then attacker is able to compromise the systems of our organization. Exploit kits are another category. What those kits does is the look for the different weaknesses in the victim systems and client system, and then if there is any vulnerability in that system, then it exploit that vulnerability. So exploit kits are the collection of a different exploits within a single software, which then scan for vulnerable systems and exploit it and provide a backdoor to the attacker. Now the attacker can completely control that systems remotely. There are threats to the Internet of the Things. Internet of the Things, as you may be aware, that emerging concept where the devices, all the devices are connected to the Internet, including our refrigerator, our air conditioning systems, our car, and then there is a recent attack that's known as a Mirai botnet. So Mirai botnet was targeting the Internet of the Things devices, and it was making them to conduct a distributed denial of service attacks by compromising those weak vulnerable systems. So the exact vulnerability of those systems was that those devices were using the default credentials supplied from the vendors. So default credentials, weak credentials were there, and then attacker created this malicious program, Mirai, to infect those devices and created a botnet, a network of the compromised Internet of the Things. There is a episode of the distributed denial of service attack. Distributed denial of service attacks happen on the organization by flooding that organization services, web application with a huge traffic, with a huge data from across the world, through the compromise, either from the compromised systems or from the attacker machines. There are incidents of the attacks on trusted infrastructure, like the issue of a ROG certificate. So we trust the digital certificate issued by the trusted agency, certifying agency. Suppose that certificate is forged, so our trust is also breached. So that's the attack on a trust infrastructure. There is a possibility of denial of service attacks on a that certifying agency network, so that at the time you cannot verify the authenticity of the certificate. There is a possibility of a compromise of a domain name systems. So we trust the domain name system that we provide the URL and it convert it into the IP address. Now what will happen if the DNS system is compromised by attacker or under control of an attacker? The attacker that the compromised DNS system will supply the wrong malicious IP address to our query, and then will take our browser to the malicious website. So that's the attack on a trusted infrastructure. This type of incident was seen in the recent past. There is a attack using social networking site. As we know today, all the people are connected by the way of a social networking sites like a Facebook, Twitter, and other websites. They are using it as a platform to interact, especially the younger generation. So there is an attack targeting the social networking platform, such as the identity theft and creating the fake profile, fake account. There is a fake news. There is a possibility of using social networking site for controlling the botnets, the infected machines. There is a possibility of distributing the virus, malware, and the malicious phishing links to the users of the social networking sites. You may have seen this fake antivirus software. Sometimes some pop-up comes into your system and it says that your computer is under a virus attack and please install this tool to clean it. So don't believe it. It's the fake antivirus software and it's actually the malware, virus, or a spyware which is stealing the information from your system or doing harm to your system. So it's not a real antivirus, it's a fake antivirus. In the recent past, we have seen the attacks on ATM machine and point of sale systems. So on a ATM, there is a attacks by compromising the operating system, rebooting the ATM machines. There is a theft on cloning of the debit card from the ATMs and point of sale systems, and sometimes in some cases attacker injected the malware in ATM systems and point of sale systems to steal the card data of the user. So card data, pin are stolen from the ATM and POS devices, and those then used by the attackers to create a fake ATM and fake ATM to withdraw fraudulently the money from the victim's account. There is a attacks that's targeted on the industrial control systems. So one of the virus malware is the Stuxnet, which was targeting the nuclear power plants and other industrial control systems. So this type of the attacks, especially targeting to the critical sectors, because the critical sectors like a power, oil and gas, energy sectors, nuclear, they rely on the industrial control systems, and today the industrial control systems are connected the way to the internet. There is a possibility of attacks on those systems through the internet. So those attacks are coming up. So there is a relationship between events and cyber attacks. So the relationship is that the first is the disaster induced by cyber attack. So if I will ask you the question, is it possible that cyber attack can cause the disaster? Then you will say definitely yes. It can cause, cyber attack can cause the disaster. It can attack the industrial control system. It can attack on a critical infrastructure, and then can cause the disaster by causing damage to the suppose the hydro dam, to the nuclear plant, to the power plants. And then another dimension to look at, whenever there is a event, suppose we are hosting a Commonwealth Games or the Olympics Games or any other the disaster in a Uttarakhand, the tsunami of Himalayan tsunami of 2013. That time, whenever there is an event, the cyber attackers are using that opportunity to launch the cyber attacks with respect to in context to that event. So that's the relationship between the events and cyber attacks. When we see what type of threats are there based on its targets, then we can divide it into the two parts. One is the client side threats, another is the server side threats. Client side threats are the threats which is targeting your laptops, mobile phones, desktop, and the devices at the client end. This slide, if you see, this is the botnet. Botnet is the network of a compromised machines. So, and this bot master is there. He is controlling those machines through command and control servers. So, why they are compromising so many machines? They are making the botnets. Now they can sell it as a service for some malicious purpose. Suppose for sending the spam messages, suppose for launching DDoS attacks and the other malicious intentions. So that's why the attackers are looking for vulnerable systems for making their botnets. How the problem is coming to the client side devices is the drive-by download is one of the reason. That's the unintended download. You do not want to download that malicious software, but somehow it's making a way to your client side device, your mobile phone, your laptop, and providing the backdoor to the attacker. There is an attack on vulnerable client side softwares like a PDF if it is not properly patched, PDF readers, Microsoft Office. There is a Java if it is a vulnerable versions, client side web browsers are the plugins are the target of the attacker to compromise on the mobile phones and the client side devices. Targeted attacks is another category. Targeted attacks are generally conducted for espionage purpose, stealing the sensitive informations. So targeted attacks is when attacker is only looking for you, especially looking for you or your organization to steal the sensitive information. So those targeted attacks comes in forms of, we can say, the spear phishing attacks or the watering hole attack. There are different techniques when they are looking for a specific target to compromise. So those threats are known as a targeted attacks, advanced persistent threats. So then there is a mobile counterpart. We already had a problem with the laptops and desktops. There is a mobile threats also. So like a Gitmo is used in the mobile phone. Use is a banking malware which targeted the internet banking users by compromising their devices. So Gitmo is the similar for mobile version of that malware. So mobile version, whenever the user will visit a banking or a net banking from a mobile device, this Gitmo will keylog the username and password and send it to the attacker. So these are the mobile threats. You may be aware about this quick response code. It's usually used for the connecting the offline and online media. So instead of typing complete URL, what you can do from your mobile phone or tablet, you can point to this QR quick response code and then automatically URL is encoded there and it will take your browser to the encoded website. But what will happen if that encoded URL is the malicious URL? So already the phishing was a problem. So now this in a quick response code we cannot see anything. So our browser can be taken to the phishing website or a malicious website by the attacker by using a quick response code. So these were the client side threats. We have to follow the best cybersecurity practices. We have to follow the cyber hygiene rules to protect our client side devices. Then there is a server side threat. Server side threats means the attack on the web application, attack on the servers like a mail servers, like a domain name systems, and the web services provided by the organization. So attack on those server-side devices and server-side infrastructures, we classify it as a server-side threats. So, in a summary of this session is that we discussed about the various type of cybersecurity threats, and then we talked about there is a relationship between the events and cyber attacks. We discussed the various type of attacks and methodology adopted by attacker to compromise the client-side devices. We have seen the targeted attacks when the attackers are especially cyber attackers are especially looking for the specific organization or specific people to compromise their systems or to gain information. Thank you.
स्वाध्यायः परमं तपः स्वाध्यायः परमं
Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University.
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम आशुतोष बहुगुणा है और मैं सर्टिन में एज ए साइंटिस्ट डी कार्यरत हूँ। आज हम इंट्रूजन डिटेक्शन सिस्टम विषय पर चर्चा करेंगे। सो द लर्निंग ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ दिस सेशन intrusion detection system is to understand what the intrusion detection system is and what the intrusion prevention systems are. So components of IDS we will discuss. The IDS stand for intrusion detection system, IPS stands for intrusion prevention systems. We will discuss the types of the IDS, then we will discuss the incident handling process if something is detected by the intrusion detection system or prevented by the intrusion prevention system. So how we have to handle that incident or a intrusion. So coming to the basic definitions, what is a intrusion detection system? So basically what is a intrusion? Intrusion is someone is attempting or if someone is attempting to compromise your system or a network. So that's the intrusion attempt. Intrusion detection system is a device or a software application. That means it can be a hardware appliance or it can be a software application that monitors network or a system activities for a malicious activities or a patterns or a policy violations, cyber security policy violation, and produces report to the management station. So it's having a management stations, that's the monitoring screen where you can see if there is any policy violation of if some traces of attack or some malicious patterns are identified in a network or a system. So it can be a hardware appliance and a software appliance. So it's a intrusion detection system. Then there are another type of devices known as intrusion prevention systems, IPS. So it's a device, it could be a hardware appliance, a device, or a software application that could be installed in your desktop machine, and that monitors network or a system activity. Again the same, it's also monitoring the network or system activity, looking for malicious activities or a policy violation. So it's also looking for any malicious patterns, malicious activity, and any policy violation, the implemented policy violation, and takes initiative actions to prevent or stop unwanted traffic or unwanted behavior. So that's the difference between intrusion detection and prevention system. In a detection system, there is the device will not take any preventive actions. If it detects something, it will just report it. It will not try to stop that malicious behavior. But in case of intrusion prevention system, it will detect and then will go one step further by either stopping that or preventing that malicious activity. So that's the difference between intrusion detection systems and intrusion prevention systems. There are different devices, appliances and software available in a commercial and open source also, so that can be used as a intrusion detection system and a intrusion prevention system. So, key definition to understand when we talks about the intrusion detection system and intrusion prevention systems are the sensors. What the sensors are? Then there are analyzers. So, what the sensors are? So, sensor are basically, it will sense for a malicious traffic, it will sense for a malicious behavior. So, that is the sensor. So, these software or these appliances known as sensors are to collect the data. It detects the potential security breach and log that and send it to the analyzer for the analysis. So, and then what the analyzer will do? Analyzer will collect data from all the sensors and then determine if there is intrusion and if there is a policy violation and how it should be handled, whether the alert should be generated or not. So, that is the role of an analyzer. Then there is a signature based detection that we have to understand. What is a signature based detection? So, think that we have a database of a malicious signatures, malicious patterns, and if something comes up and then we can match it to the database and find out whether it is malicious or not. That is the signature based detection, and that is the how most of the antivirus solution also works. It works on a signature based database detection. So, we are having a malicious strings in our database, malicious patterns, what is a malicious, and then when it comes, then using the signature based detection. So, it detect whether the given particular situation is a malicious or not. So, that is the signature based detection. Then there is a anomaly based intrusion detection. So, anomaly means there is a no signatures. What it is looking for, whether the system is working as expected or is there is a any deviation in a pattern. So, if there is an anomaly, is there the deviation in a pattern, it may classify it as an anomaly and may go for a further analysis for that behavior. So, that is the anomaly based intrusion detection. So, some of the ideas IPS devices are signature based, some are anomaly, few are hybrid also, that is the having a both signature and anomaly based intrusion detection. We will come what are their advantages and disadvantages are of the approaches. Then there are adaptive systems. So, what the adaptive systems are? Adaptive systems are the system which learns based on the environment. So, it learns based on the environment, particular environment of that organization it is placed, and based on that environment it set a baseline that okay, this is the normal behavior, normal traffic pattern, normal systems behavior. So, if something goes beyond that, it is the anomaly, it is the anomaly and it detect as a malicious activity, and that systems learn as the new findings comes up. So, those are the adaptive systems. This slides give you the idea of the different IDS components, and basically it is to understand how the different things works. So, for the what are the inputs for the intrusion detection system? Definitely it could be the network traffic, it is the critical files, it is the log files of a systems, and then it is collected by the sensors, traffic collector. It is forwarded to the analysis engine. In an analysis engine, it is analyzed and then it is reported on a dashboard of that device or a software application, that if there is any alert or the analysis performed by that device. So, these are the different components of intrusion detection. So, where it should be placed, the intrusion detection, should it be inside the organization, should it be installed in a desktop system, should it be in a servers or in a network. So, there are types of intrusion detection system. So, like a network intrusion detection system. So, network intrusion detection systems, NIDS, are placed in a network which is having a visibility in the traffic which is going out or inside that network segment, maybe at your internet, maybe before your firewall, after your firewall, maybe on some critical LAN segment, maybe at a DMZ. So, those devices look for a traffic, what is going out, what is going in that network segment, and that match it, if it is a signature based detection, match it with the signature database to identify any malicious activity. If it is anomaly based, then it will follow the anomaly based detection approach. So, those are the network intrusion detection systems, NIDs. Those devices are placed at a network level. Then there are a host based intrusion detection system. In a host based intrusion detection systems is installed in a host. So, what it will look for? It will monitor for a activity on that client system and a servers, and it will look for the files, critical files, logs of that systems, and it will try to identify if there is anything malicious, and if it detects anything malicious, then it will report it to the reporting system. That is the dashboard of that HIDS. So, it could be installed on your laptops and desktops as a host based intrusion detection system. So, as we already discussed, intrusion prevention system, it's the one step ahead of the intrusion detection system. What it will do in intrusion prevention system, it will detect. It could also be a network intrusion prevention system or a host to intrusion prevention system. So, it's the intrusion detection system basically with the capability of taking actions for a prevention. So, suppose it will detect some attack, some malicious traffic. So, what it can do? It will generate a firewall rule or block that IP address. So, that is the prevention system. It will detect some malicious file execution. So, what it will do? It will sandbox it and stop its execution. So, those type of activities to prevent the further malicious execution of that activity. So, that is the basically purpose of a intrusion prevention system. So, prevention systems goes one step ahead by doing the prevention also. So, classification, if you will do intrusion detection system and a prevention system, classification is a signature as we discussed and anomaly. So, signature based IDS are based on looking for known patterns, what we already know, then only we created the signature database. So, what the patterns, what the malicious virus patterns, malicious traffic patterns, we know that we created a database, and if something like that comes up, we match that in a database and generate the alert. In anomaly based intrusion detection system are based on tracking unknown unique behavior pattern or possible malicious activity. So, if they look for an unknown pattern, what it is, so they will investigate it and then find out for a possible malicious activity. So, at this slide we discuss about the advantages of the approaches of a signature based approach and the anomaly based approach. These are the advantages. So, what are the advantages of signature based approach? So, low alarm rates, since we have a already verified database of a malicious activity. So, alarm rate will be only accurate, there will be less false positive and the accurate alarm rate, and hence it will be the low alarm rate. So, accuracy will be there, the signature based intrusion detection system are very accurate because it is matching with the known database of malicious patterns. Then the speed is very fast because it is matching with the database. So, the speed of that signature based approach is very fast. So, if you look for the advantage of anomaly based, then we see it can detect for a unknown attacks also, new behavior also can detect unknown and new behavior in a pattern. So, and it also do a detailed investigation. It is not only on a signature pattern matching, it will do the detailed analysis of the traffic. Then there are disadvantages of both the approaches, and the disadvantages are there. In a signature based attempt, of course, there is no detection for a new attacks. So, no new attacks cannot be detected since it is not available in our database. So, there is a possibility of signature bypass by evasion techniques. So, attackers may use some techniques which can bypass the pattern matching of the device or a intrusion detection systems. Then there is a need for a continuous database update for a new signature. So, we need to continuously create a signature and update database or get a feed to update our database. That is required to make it effective. Then if you see at a disadvantages of anomaly based detection, then there are lots of false positive, means since it looks for a new behavior or unknown patterns, and so that is the false positive, and that means the more work for the analyst. Then there are time and resources. So for every new patterns, the devices, the approach is going for investigation in depth. For that, then there is a time and resource intensive is this activity. So we need to have a technical people with in-depth knowledge of the cyber security skill set we need to have for the investigation of those alerts. So those are the basically some of the drawbacks of those anomalies. So if you detect something in an incident intrusion detection system, or something is reported by our intrusion prevention system, so what process we should follow? So usually the organization have the standard operating process, crisis management plan, incident response plan. So they follow that process to handle that incident. So if some pattern is detected by your device and that's the intrusion attack, so what steps you will take? So that's the incident handling process is implemented in an organization to handle the incidents or an intrusion attempts. So what is the first thing? First thing in the steps, if you look at the slides, so if you go in the main components, that the first is the report of an incident. So you get a report from somewhere, someone reported to you, or your intrusion detection system, your intrusion prevention system reported to you. Then there is a registration, you register that incident, create a unique ID and register that incident. Then there is a triage approach. So triage is term derived from the medical community, and it says that you may have hundreds of the cases, but what you will do, you will take the based on the priority. You create a priority, you create a based on the emergency. So first you will handle the priority based on the priority 1 case. So that's may have a in case of incident that may have a major impact. So that case you will handle. So that's the triage process. Then you will try to resolve the incident. You will eradicate and recovery actions, how to resolve that, how to stop that attack from spreading the further, and coordinating with the agencies, different agencies, to shut down the malicious actors, malicious websites. So those are the incident resolving. Then you will propose the actions and close the incident. Then the post analysis of the incident is also important, and that we need to do for our further learning and tuning our devices. And then finally we will submit our improvement plan, improvement proposals. So how we should be better against the emerging cyber threats and the incident we have recently seen. We also archive then in the incident in our database. We keep it in our database for further referencing. So to summarize this session, we have discussed the intrusion detection system, we have discussed the intrusion prevention system, what is the difference between them. We discussed about the different components and the type of IDS and IPS, like NIDS and host-based intrusion detection system. We discussed about how they detect the malicious attempt intrusions by anomaly or a signature based detections. And then finally we discuss about the incident response procedures, how to handle the incident or the intrusion attempt reported to your organizations. So that's all for this session. Thank you.
स्वाध्यायः परमं तप